Hello and welcome to the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Our guest today is Vincent Stovall. He is an actor, performer, just overall Renaissance man. So I want to welcome you today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
So I want to let everyone know that we met because you were doing a Juneteenth performance in Germantown.
Yes.
So, and the person who is the head of the center where you were performing, he said, you gotta meet Vincent. And he was right, I had to meet Vincent. So tell us about that and your performance.
Yeah, well, that was such a great experience. I've known Kelly since he was like 11 years old, and he was one of the kids in a production that I had done when I was a grad student at Howard. And so fast forward, it's just so interesting that he is now the artistic director at Black Rock Performing Arts Center. And so he invited me to present my poetry at the Juneteenth Festival, and it was a great experience. Touched some lives, and that's what I always like to do, is touch lives, get people to think, and tell the truth.
Now, you're not a native of Washington.
No.
You're not from this area, but you came here for grad school?
Yes, yes.
At
yes.
Howard University.
Yes.
Where do you get your inspiration for your poetry and for your acting?
I pay attention to what's going on around me. I might hear a story. There might be something that someone might be going through something, and I really pay attention. And one thing that's kind of funny is that sometimes I could hear something on the news, I could hear someone's experience, there could be something that I'm going through, and somehow all of that will come together to form a story or a theme, and then I will move forward. And I believe that there are these spirits out there that speak through me sometimes, and I'm telling someone else's story. And I know it sounds kind of weird, but I know other artists have said the same kinds of things. And I remember one time I wrote a play, and there was a character that I wanted to go in a certain direction. And I had what most people call writer's block, but I believe this character did not like the fact that I was not going to tell their story. So once I settled down and allowed that character to speak to me, then the story was able to move forward. And so it's an interesting process, and it's something that I enjoy a lot.
Now, it's one thing when you're doing a play with an ensemble cast, and you've got different characters and you're working together. What does it feel like to do a one-man performance? You are the center from the beginning, the middle, and the end. What does that feel like?
There's a lot of pressure. And selecting the right pieces can be a challenge as well, because I wanted to make sure there was balance. I didn't want everything to be sad, or angry. I wanted a nice mix. I wanted to choose pieces that were relevant. And in fact, there were a couple pieces that I wrote just for the show. And it's a lot of pressure, but it requires rehearsal, discipline, and just being in tune with what the audience is going through, because there's a relationship there. And you can't just run through the piece. I mean, the audience might respond a certain way, which can affect your performance. And it's a lot of fun. It's like walking on a tightrope.
How has your writing changed from when you first started writing plays and poetry to now? Is it a sign of the times? Is it depending on what's going on in that period of time? Or is it maturity on your end, or different experiences that you've had? How has your poetry changed with your life?
I believe that it has changed because of maturity, and I like where I am right now. I like the fact that I know that no is a complete sentence. Does not require any explanation. I write what I want to write, and I'm not so concerned about the structure that you learn in school. And I write about what's going on now. I try to write things that are relevant, things that disturb me sometimes. For example, the N-word. I hate that word. And so I have a piece about that word. And the great thing about that piece is after that piece is performed, I have had young African American men walk up to me afterwards and they say, I have used that word, and after hearing this piece, I will never use it again.
The African American community has had a love-hate relationship with that word. And just the rules around when you can say it and when you can't say it, who can be there when you say it, who shouldn't be able to say it. I mean, it's just, there are just these secret rules to the word. And this one word, this one single word is so powerful.
Yes, yes. Well, for me, I think people need to understand the history of the word. It's rooted in hate. And so people are trying to reclaim it, trying to recycle it, but you can't recycle everything. For example, the Jews never tried to recycle the swastika to make it part of Hanukkah, so why are we trying to recycle that word? Because it's rooted in hate, and if you look at the history and look at what our ancestors went through, and then I think about what would they think of us using that word. And I just think it's somewhat disrespectful to our ancestors as well.
We mentioned earlier, or I mentioned earlier, the fact that we met through your performance at the Juneteenth celebration. One of the poems that you did, and you did for me, on the phone when we were talking, was called Seesaw.
Yes.
So let's start off. I want you to perform several of your poems during our discussion today, but let's start off with Seesaw.
Okay. Very good.
We've got Vincent Stovall, and he's going to perform for us his first poem, Seesaw.
I see what I saw, and he see what I saw, and she see what she saw, and we saw. And I saw what I see, and he saw what I see, and she saw what he see, and we saw. See, we saw the Capitol on fire with hate. I saw insurrection. He saw an America that was not great. She saw violence. We saw solution sitting in silence. I saw, he saw, she saw, we saw death. The leaders inside the Capitol smelled death. Nancy, where are you? Hang Mike Pence. Hang Mike Pence. That day I saw stars fall from the American flag, and the guardians of justice beaten like punching bags, and the mob was proud and savagely loud, and that same mob claimed disrespect to the American flag and to our country, the land of the free. When Colin Kaepernick peacefully and prayerfully took a knee. Oh, say, can you see?
Wow. There was so much in that, from how we perceived differently. And I don't care what you choose to call it, was an insurrection.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
No matter how you try to paint it, that's what it was.
Absolutely, yes it was. And we're not supposed to believe our eyes, and we just can never succumb to that.
What does it feel like for you as a writer being told that you shouldn't see what you saw?
I ignore that. You know, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to think what I think. I just want to make sure you're thinking. And so that's my goal as an artist. There's a quote that I love, and it says, "Art should comfort those who are disturbed and disturb those who are comfortable." And so I think about that a lot of times when I'm writing, you know, to comfort some and then to disturb others who may not get it. You know, it's like, come on, people, think.
How have your family experiences kind of shaped who you are? When we were in the hallway before we came in to do the show, we were talking about grandparents and how nurturing they were back in the day and how we want to hold on to that.
Yes.
And we want it to be the same
Yes.
as it was. How were you influenced by your upbringing?
When I was growing up, the church that my family attended, we had a cousin, always had me on the Easter program or the Christmas program with the speeches. And so, you know, I give credit to Rosie for my first experiences speaking in front of people. And I started studying classical piano and theory when I was 7 years old. And she used to have me on the Easter programs, even when I was in college, if I were in town. And if she knew I was in town, she would have me to stop by the church and play the piano. And so family has had a big impact on my life as I write. Some of the comedic characters that I write come from my father's mouth. He's hilarious. And I have other relatives who, you know, have influenced my writing, you know, from their stories or just my observations. My grandparents were very, very important to me, and it was just a nice, loving, fun environment. I always enjoyed being around them. And yeah, some people feel like, you know, elderly people, they're boring. No, not my grandparents.
They are walking history
Yes,
books.
yes.
And you got to tap into that so that we can pass on.
Yes.
Now, you just mentioned the Black church. You have a poem dealing with the Black church.
Oh, yes.
Let's hear it.
Okay. It's called Prelude to a Sunday Service. It's 20 minutes before service, and the church is half full. People are quietly greeting one another, and many of the women are wearing hats. Big, brightly colored, creatively designed, expensive, inexpensive, and homemade church hats with flowers, plumes, and veils that rest atop fresh curls and stiff wigs. Little boys wear hook-on ties, long collars, and big jackets that they will grow into, they're told. Little girls wear short, fluffy pastel dresses, petticoats, bows, bonnets, and anklets, and Vaselined faces and legs. Deacons sitting in folding chairs to the right of the pulpit wear blue or black suits, white shirts, and white ties. On the first row, one of the elderly ladies dressed in white with a white knitted shawl resting across her shoulders rises. She leans on her cane and looks towards heaven through eyeglasses that are as thick as ice cubes. She begins to hum a simple melody that sounds a little like Amazing Grace, but it isn't Amazing Grace. This impromptu song sounds old and weary. It reveals joy, pain, sorrow, and faith. Gradually, others join in, and the melody rises and falls and is repeated. Bodies sway from side to side. Fans with funeral home ads are in constant motion. This weary song rises again, and the air is punctuated with sounds of "Thank you, Jesus, hallelujah, hallelujah, praise his name." Gradually, the song spirals down to a church moan, and the elderly lady testifies. And after she tells of how her God saw her through an eye operation, the congregation sits in a meditative spirit while the church officials prepare for morning worship. Morning sun rays shine through stained glass windows, and engulf everyone in a warm glow. My sweet little sister is sitting on the second to the last row with a belly full of baby. Right now it's a secret because she's not showing much. The other night I overheard Mama talking to Aunt Louise in Macon, Georgia. Sounded like Mama was planning to send Crystal away to have the baby so it could stay a secret. But no matter how hard you try, you can't hide a baby. Crystal used to sing in the choir, and the church used to be packed on the second and fourth Sunday, because that's when Crystal sang. She has a very mature, seasoned voice for someone who's only 16. Reverend and Mrs. Thomas used to take Crystal with them whenever Reverend Thomas was invited to be the guest minister at one of the sister churches. I used to tell Mama that Crystal saved more souls than Reverend Thomas. But Crystal doesn't sing in the choir anymore. Somehow word got back to Reverend Thomas about Crystal being pregnant, and he told Mama that Crystal couldn't sing in the choir anymore. That just about broke my baby sister's heart. Crystal was known for being real sweet and giving. Everybody expected her to go to college and to be somebody special. But somehow the few people who knew she was pregnant acted like she had changed. But she hadn't changed. She was still sweet. They were the ones who had changed. The same people who used to be so proud of her and who fought over her and who claimed her as their child. Oh, you know how they can carry on. Were the same people who started looking down their noses at her like they were smelling something foul. And these same people are supposed to be good, God-fearing, forgiving, helpful Christian folk. And Mama's not much better running around nervous, trying to hide everything, trying to make sure the clothes Crystal wear don't show her belly, trying to keep it a secret. But you can't hide a baby. I've decided that I'm not going to usher today. I need to go over and sit next to my little sister and put my arm around her and protect her. Protect her from all the devils sitting around fanning themselves.
Tell me, where did that come
from? Just thinking about the hypocrisy in the church sometimes, and thinking about when I was growing up and how people would sometimes try to hide the fact that someone was having a baby, how it was frowned upon.
It was a shame.
It was a shame, you know? And, you know, and the people who are supposed to be good, God-fearing church folks, and they think they have it all figured out, you know, are condemning someone. And we're not supposed to judge people. And, you know, too many times people try to put God in a box. And anyone who tries to put God in a box doesn't get it. And you can't put God in a box. You know, I can't tell you that God does not exist, you know, in the Jewish faith, you know, or with Muslims or the Hindu. You know, God is everywhere. God cannot be put in a box. And I think we need to allow people to be who they are and not judge. And too often, religion and God has been used as a weapon. God has been used as a weapon to enslave people. God has been used to weaponize people who are not tolerant of other people's beliefs. You know, and people can always go to the Bible and say, well, according to the Bible, you know, but you can also find things in the Bible that will support whatever it is that you want to support. So you have to be very careful. You have to read it for yourself. And it's a personal relationship that should be respected.
Now, not only are you an excellent poet, you also are a songwriter.
Yes.
And we were just talking and come to find out that a song, I had no idea that you had written this song. I sang a song. Mm-hmm. I do sometimes sing, but I sang a song my senior year in college. Melba Moore.
Yes.
It's a song by singer Melba Moore sang it, called The Other Side of the Rainbow. At that time, I was getting ready to graduate, had absolutely no plan for the future, had broken up with my boyfriend. My only plan for the future was to marry Gary. When me and Gary broke up, I had no plan for the future. Uh-huh. And I sang this song during a step show at Hampton. And I remember the song just invigorated me. On the other side of the rainbow, it was a positive song. It was like God was letting me know that there will be something for you after this.
Yes.
And to find out that you, 40 years later, you were the one who wrote that song. I thought about it for weeks. I played it over and over again for weeks, told my kids about it. So I'm just honored to meet the man how did that all come about?
Well, first of all, I am just so honored that you sang the song. And one day I want to hear you sing it.
I didn't sound like Melba.
That's right. But you did it your way. You did it your way.
Yes, I did.
All right.
Yes, I did.
And I'm sure it was well received. Yeah, when I was at Howard University in grad school, there was a communications conference, and I was asked to put together a program, for this event. And so I used to coach the forensics team, and I used to have students to compete intercollegiately in the areas of poetry, after dinner speaking, dramatic duo, those kinds of things. So I grabbed some of those students, and I decided to do a tribute to Langston Hughes. And I found musicians that were students at Howard, and I was just pulling lots of people together from around the campus. I had dancers, all kinds of things going on. So I turned this into a big production. And the poem Mother to Son was one of the poems that I included in this production. And I wanted a song to follow it, and I couldn't think of one, so I thought, I'll write one.
Just write one?
I'll just write one. So it took a night and maybe half a day to write this song, because I thought the poem Mother to Son was so inspirational, so powerful. And that's how the song evolved. And once it was written, I had a singer, her name was Yvette Cason. She's from the DC area. Since then, she's been on Broadway, and she's a great singer. And I had her to sing it, and the night of the show, the audience went nuts. Standing ovation. And the second night, I recorded it on a little cassette tape recorder. And Melba Moore was always one of my favorite singers. And I decided to go off to New York, no appointment. I found out where her studio was, and I had my tape recorder. I had my only navy blue suit. I was gonna go in there looking real professional. And I had my tape recorder with the song in it. And when I got to the building, it was a building where you had to be buzzed in. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I don't have an appointment. They aren't gonna know who I was. And so the mail carrier was coming out of the building and asked, do you want me to hold the door for you? That was nothing but God. God opens doors, and God truly opened that door that day. And so I went upstairs, and the woman who was the receptionist, she asked if she could help me, and I said, I have this one song that I would love for someone to listen to. I know it's a great song for Melba Moore. So she went in the back and talked to her husband and manager, and I heard him in the back saying, oh, bring him back here and let's get this out of the way. So I went back there, and I had my cassette ready to play it, but they had this elaborate sound system, and I was hoping that they would take the tape and put it in their sound system so it would sound like the night of the show, where they could hear the audience reaction. And he did. He loved the song. He called Melba. He was trying to get her to hear the song over the telephone. And long story short, they said they were looking for an inspirational song, and this was the song that they wanted to be the title cut of the album. And it was a dream come true, because I always wanted to write something for Melba Moore. And when I was a teenager, she was at a record store promoting, one of her songs, and I went down there and I got her autograph, even took a picture with her. Who knew years later that I would have the opportunity to write a song for her?
Before we run out of time, I want you to do one more. We've got 3 minutes left.
Okay.
So can you?
Oh, sure,
okay.
Sure.
Very good.
Yeah, I'm developing a character. He's Uncle Vinny. And Uncle Vinny tells the truth according to Uncle Vinny. And Uncle Vinny does not like Mother Goose rhymes. And so he has his own version of nursery rhymes. And this one is called Hard-Headed Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty was a great big egg. He wore a little hat and had long arms and legs. He liked sitting out back on our garden wall. Mama didn't like it and told him, one day you will fall. Well, sure enough, one day he sat on that back wall, lost his balance and had a great big fall. Mama grabbed her pots and pans, and for breakfast, we had scrambled Humpty, grits, biscuits, and ham. The moral to this story is, a hard head makes a soft scrambled behind.
Do you know my mother used to say, a hard head makes a soft behind.
Oh, yeah.
Man, not Humpty, no.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's tragic.
But he was hard-headed. He was told, don't sit on that wall.
Well, tell me about that character. Tell me a little bit about the character.
Well, Uncle Vinny is in development, and I'm hoping to have him up and ready for the fall. And he tells the truth according to Uncle Vinny. Uncle Vinny will give people advice in terms of taking care of yourself, and will just help us to take a look at ourselves in general and make us think about how we treat each other. There are all kinds of topics that Uncle Vinny will cover.
And everybody has a sort of Uncle Vinny.
Oh, yeah.
In your family, everybody
Oh, yes.
has some uncle who tells the truth according to him. It may not be factual, but it is his truth.
Exactly, exactly. And so Uncle Vinny might be a relative of Mom's Mabley and Red Fox of Sanford and Son.
Oh, Lord.
So oh, yeah.
That sounds like a piece of work.
Oh, it's a piece of work. Oh, yeah. He has his own persona. And so I'm in the process now of finding his voice and what he's going to look like and act like, his little quirks. So I'm enjoying developing Uncle Vinny.
Vincent, it has been such a pleasure. I am so glad that we got the opportunity, that we were able to connect and do this show. After I heard Seesaw, I knew that I wanted you to come on and perform this, not just for me on the Zoom, but perform it for other people to hear. So I am so glad that you were able to take the time to meet with us
I'm
today.
so glad that we were able to do this, and thank you so much for the invitation, and I'll keep you posted about future performances.
Yes, please do. You've been watching the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. We've been talking to actor, writer, songwriter, playwright Vincent Stovall. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Have a great day.